This is Be All In Sports. My name is Brady, back to break down some more UFC fights. The fights have now concluded for UFC Seattle. It was a weird night. We had some surprises there. If you want that breakdown, go watch the end of the live from last night. We did. I kind of went back over and recapped all of that. What I'm going to do now is start getting prepared for next week. We are back at the UFC Apex. We have some pretty decent fights on this card, actually. The main event is going to be Manel Cap taking on Asu Amabayev, which is going to be a very good flyweight matchup. It's going to determine some very high ranking positions in that division. So we'll see how that one turns out. But we are here. We're going to break down each of these fights individually so we can get these videos out a little bit faster. Don't have to wait on the ones that I am breaking down first, are probably the ones that I'm going to be betting on the most heavily. And this time I'm going to do this a little bit different. Each week we learn a little bit more. We change things up a little bit, try new things. So this week we're going to be doing this a little different. But the first fight, I'm not going to hold up here. The first fight that I'm going to get into is going to be the fight between Ricardo Ramos taking on Chepe Mariscal. This is going to be a featherweight matchup. Both of these guys have a lot of experience, not as much on the Chepe side, but Ricardo Ramos, this is going to be, I believe, his 15th walk to the octagon. When you look back at his career, he has faced some pretty high-level fighters, but he's not necessarily winning against these high-level fighters. Chepe Mariscal, on the other hand, he is fighting and winning against some of these higher-level fighters. Even though some of them are pretty young in the UFC, they are on the come up and on the rise, and he is beating them. Although some of his matchups, I will say, little bit questionable. I know the matchup that he had against Morgan Charrier was a little bit questionable in my eyes. That could have gone either way. It was a split decision. The matchup against Jack Jenkins, that was another one that before the injury to Jenkins, it would have been iffy. If it had gone to the distance, we might have had another split decision. Could have gone his way, could have not gone his way. You never know how those things are going to play out. But we did have the injury, and it was due to one of his throws. So overall, he is winning the fights that he needs to win. Ramos, on the other hand, he's not necessarily pulling it out against the higher level fighters, like I said. He's got losses to Charles Jourdain. He's got losses to Julian Erosa. He does have a split decision win against Josh Kulabau. But again, I think that was another one that could have gone either way. His main method for finishing people is going to be a submission or decision win, because he's not necessarily knocking anybody out in the UFC since he got there. Danny Chavez, you can't consider too much there. That was about 3 years ago, and Chavez is no longer in the UFC and didn't have very much success while he was here. So let's break this down across the board here. We've in recently we've got some of the matchups that he has had. Charles Jourdain, like I said, he did lose by guillotine there, and he lost by a guillotine to Julian Erosa as well. Kulabau, like I said, that one went to a split decision. Even though he is the younger of these two fighters, Mariscal is sitting at the age of 32. Ramos is 29. He does have a slight height advantage, 5'9" to 5'7". As far as the reach advantage, it's not big as far as a reach advantage. It's a 3 inches, but the way Mariscal fights, he is a dog. He is a complete dog in there. Both of these guys are on different sides of the spectrum in my eyes. Okay, when I'm looking at Ricardo Ramos, he has a tendency to kind of give up, so to speak, on himself when he's in those tough moments. He's not pushing through. Sometimes he will be that fighter too that will lay on his back a little bit and invite you to come into his world, which would be the submission specialist. But when we look at the Mariscal side, he's not getting submitted by people. He's not really getting knocked out by people. That's the method that he would usually, if he's going to lose, it's usually going to be by decision or by knockout. I mean, there's one of two ways. He hasn't shown a real susceptibility to being submitted. So I just have to think that his skills on the ground are going to be enough to negate somebody who, even though their main specialty is to try and submit you or get the decision win, you're still getting submitted by your peers. And I think Mariscal is on a higher level as far as overall fight IQ, overall being the dog in this matchup. I think that Mariscal holds a lot of these keys. And I think that this is going to be one that I'm pretty confident, and I think the odds are justified in him being the favorite in this one. Even though he does have these tough matchups, he continually is having these tough matchups. It's normally against a higher level opponent in my eyes. I don't see Ricardo Ramos being that high level opponent. I don't see him being the person that is going to stick around and be able to put up with the punishment that Mariscal is going to put him through. I think Chepe is going to be the better striker. If it stands, I think Chepe is going to have a big advantage in the striking realm there. He's going to put out more. He doesn't get hit quite as much. I think Ramos gets hit a little bit more than he can put out. So in that realm, I think he's going to be able to beat him in the striking. And Mariscal has shown that he is not afraid to be taken down because he can pop right back up. So he's not going to be fearing the takedowns from Ramos, which I believe is going to make him even more dangerous in this matchup. So all in all, I do have Chepe already in one of my parlays. So I'll be giving those out very quickly, but we are going through and breaking down each of these fights. This is one of those surefire, confident picks that even after talking about it and going through this breakdown a little bit more, I even feel a little bit better about it. So my pick in this matchup is going to be Chepe Mariscal. I think that a smart bet in this one is going to be by I honestly think it's going to be KO or decision. I think it's if you want to double up, go KO or decision, or I believe that this would be one that Mariscal can get the knockout as well. Either way, I don't think this fight's going to go the distance. Mariscal is going to have too much pressure, and I look to him to just put it on Ramos, and I don't think Ramos is going to be able to take the punishment or the pressure that he's going to face come Saturday against Chepe Mariscal, especially being in a small octagon inside the UFC Apex. This is going to be a fun one because I think you're going to hear all the punches. I think you're going to hear all the punishment being doled out. And hopefully I'm right in this because, like I said, I do have him in a parlay. I'll get those out to you soon. But my name is Brady. This is Be All In Sports. Stay tuned. We're going to have more coming out very soon.